I was sitting at the edge of my little girl's bed, doing the usual bedtime tuck-in routine we'd done 100 times before. She looked up at me with those big, honest eyes, still so full of trust, and quietly said something that felt like it gutted me from the inside out. Mom says she has a real man now. An alpha, not like you. I didn't flinch, didn't break down, didn't yell. I just sat there, frozen solid, like her words had slammed into me with the force of a betrayal I couldn't even process yet. My 8-year-old daughter, unknowingly parroting her mother's venom like she was reciting the ABCs. That's when I knew, not guessed, not feared, but knew something was seriously wrong. And this wasn't some passing mistake. It was a full-on demolition of my character. I kissed my daughter's forehead, pulled the covers up around her a little tighter, and stepped out of the room like I was walking through someone else's home. Thing is, this wasn't the first red flag. Rebecca had been acting different, dressing up just to run errands, putting on makeup late at night, smiling down at her phone like it was whispering sweet nothings to her. I tried to tell myself I was overthinking it. That's what loyal husbands do, right? We gaslight ourselves before we dare to question the woman we trust. But what my daughter said, that was the line. That was the beginning of something else entirely. The house was dead silent as I walked down the hallway, but inside my head, my heartbeat was roaring like a freight train. I went straight for the whiskey I'd stashed away for our anniversary, some top-shelf stuff I'd been saving, and sat alone in the dark, eyes fixed on the garage door. She wasn't home yet. Girls' night, she'd said with that fake smile that barely touched her eyes anymore. Liar. I opened her laptop. She never bothered to password protect it. Maybe she thought I'd never look. Maybe she just didn't care. Either way, it didn't take long to find what I wasn't even fully ready for. A folder named Work Stuff. Classic. Inside? Screenshots. Pictures. Text messages. Selfies in hotel mirrors. And a video, her laughing in that breathless, giddy way, whispering, "He's nothing like my husband. He's so primal." I think I laughed right then. Not a joyful laugh. It was sharp, cracked, ugly. Because everything I needed to know was sitting right there in front of me. Rebecca, my wife, the same woman who cried during our wedding vows, was screwing around with some gym bro named Ronald. You know the type. The kind of guy who ends every sentence with bro and treats protein powder like it's a food group. I watched the video 3 times. Not because I doubted what I was seeing, but because I couldn't wrap my head around how easy she made it for me to stop loving her. She came home at exactly 2:20 a.m., looking like she just wrapped up a hot yoga class. Tight black dress, heels dangling from her hand, hair a mess, cheeks flushed, and smelling like a cologne that definitely wasn't mine. I didn't say a word, just looked at her. Really looked. She stopped in her tracks when she saw the expression on my face. "What?" she asked, blinking fast. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "You saw him tonight," I said. It wasn't a question. She rolled her eyes. Actually rolled her damn eyes. "Are we seriously doing this?" I lifted the laptop and turned it toward her. For a split second, her face went pale. Just for a moment. Then she smirked. That smirk nearly broke me. "Finally figured it out, huh?" she said. "Took you long enough. I thought you were smarter than that, Scott." Her voice was calm, unbothered, like we were chatting about the weather. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she added, like it was some sort of script she barely remembered. "Really?" I said, my voice quiet. "Then why did you use our daughter to say it for you? Why feed her your garbage and have her carry your message?" Rebecca actually flinched at that. "You made her your messenger," I continued. "You wanted me to know you'd moved on through her." She shrugged, like it was no big deal. "Well, it's the truth. Ronald is more of a man than you'll ever be. He's driven, jacked, in control. You're just safe, boring, predictable." And that's when it happened. Right then, right in that moment, I stopped loving her. Just like a switch had been flipped inside me. I wasn't mad. I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't even sad anymore. I was done. I gave her a single nod, walked past her like she didn't exist, and went straight to the bedroom. Threw some clothes into a suitcase without a word. She stood in the doorway, arms folded like she was the victim in all this. "You're just gonna leave?" she called out behind me. I zipped the bag shut. "You already did." That night, I slept in a cheap motel. The kind that smells like stale air and desperation. First thing the next morning, I called my lawyer. Then I rang my daughter's school and filed for custody. 30 days later, I had full custody. Rebecca had nothing. No home, no job, no alpha. Ronald ditched her the moment he realized she was married. I kept the house, launched my own company, and never looked back. She gambled everything on a fantasy. And lost. Because she picked image over substance. As for me, I chose peace. That morning, I sat on a saggy motel bed, sipping burnt gas station coffee, watching the sun rise through a cracked window. My daughter's words were still echoing in my head like a cruel lullaby. Mom says she has a real man now. An alpha, not like you. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't hurting, I was. Deep down, I was shattered. But betrayal doesn't leave room for tears. It demands something else. It demands action. I skipped work, drove straight to Adam Robinson's office. Ex-Marine, now the sharpest attorney I could find. I handed him a flash drive. Make her wish she never met me, I told him. He gave me this cold, confident smile. You got it. Later that day, Rebecca texted me. Just one message. So this is how you're handling it? Pathetic. No apology. No remorse. No hint of regret. Just pure, inflated arrogance. And that told me everything I needed to know. She never thought I'd walk away. She assumed I'd fight to keep her. That I'd crawl back. But I didn't. She had no idea how wrong she was. While Adam was handling the custody paperwork like a man on a mission, I was quietly pulling together everything I needed to rebuild what was left of my life. But more than that, I was focused on protecting Kelly, my daughter, 8 years old, still innocent, and completely confused by everything unraveling around her. She didn't choose any of this. She deserved peace, stability, a life not defined by chaos. That weekend, I went back to the house to grab a few more of my things. Rebecca wasn't home. Place already felt different. Her scent still hung in the air like some invisible memory that didn't know it was unwelcome anymore. Our wedding photo, used to hang in the hallway, was gone, replaced by some oversized canvas print of a lion. Subtle. I opened her closet on instinct. Half her stuff was gone. On the floor, a pair of expensive boots I didn't recognize. Looked like something someone bought to impress, not to wear. Not mine, for damn sure. In the kitchen, there was a bottle of champagne sitting in the fridge, chilled and ready to go. Next to it, 2 takeout containers, sushi, her favorite. Both already half-eaten. She was celebrating. Probably didn't even bother to think twice about it. I checked the dishwasher. 2 wine glasses. One had lipstick on the rim. The other had a faint smudge of chocolate or maybe dessert. Either way, the message was clear, and it hit harder than I expected. It wasn't just that she was with someone else. What cut deepest was how comfortable she was doing it under the same roof we raised our daughter in. The same roof I nearly broke my back to afford. But the real gut punch came 2 days later. Adam called. You're not gonna believe this, Scott, he said. That guy, a Ronald Coleman, the one from the messages? Turns out he's married. Got 2 kids. His wife just filed for separation after she found the same videos on his burner phone. My mouth went dry. Wait, how'd she get the videos? Idiot backed them up to his iCloud. She had full access. She's coming after him hard. And she wants to talk to you. I didn't know whether to laugh or throw up. Rebecca had paraded Ronald around like she'd snagged some alpha king. But what she actually landed was a washed-up gym bro going through a midlife meltdown, drowning in creatine and broken promises. Honestly, they deserved each other. 3 days later, I met his wife, Grace, at a coffee shop. She looked worn out, like she hadn't slept properly in weeks. But her voice? Rock steady. He told me I was losing it, she said. Said I was insecure. Gaslit me for months. I nodded. Yeah, that's the game. Rebecca played the same cards on me. You're not crazy. She handed me a manila envelope, texts, screenshots, hotel receipts, everything. I gave her my copies, too. We didn't even need to say it out loud, but we both understood. This wasn't about revenge. It was about making sure we, and our kids, got out clean. As I walked back to my car, something in me shifted. The pain was still there. It hadn't magically vanished, but it was changing. Less like a wound, more like a scar in progress. And scars? Scars mean survival. I pulled out my phone and texted Kelly. Can't wait to see you this weekend. Daddy loves you more than anything. Because through all the wreckage, all the betrayal, all the ugliness, there was still one thing Rebecca couldn't poison, my bond with my daughter. It was a Tuesday when I finally came face to face with Rebecca again. Not in a courtroom. Not in some bitter text exchange. Not in a daydream where I finally said all the things I'd been holding back. No, this was real. Flesh and blood. And she still wore that smug, detached little smirk like she held all the cards. We met at a public park, not far from our old neighborhood. I picked a neutral place on purpose. Kelly was with my sister that evening. Rebecca showed up 20 minutes late, strutting like she was walking a red carpet. Tight jeans, giant sunglasses, glued to her phone like it was her lifeline. No greeting. "Let's just get this over with," she mumbled, sliding into the seat across from me like she had better places to be. I stared at her for a second. This was the woman I'd once shared holidays with. Road trips. A life. A child. And now she just looked like a stranger wearing my last name. "You lied to me," I said, voice calm. "For months. Maybe longer." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, don't act like some poor helpless victim. You weren't perfect either." Then she leaned back and crossed her arms like she was about to deliver some courtroom monologue. "Our marriage was over a long time ago. You just didn't want to admit it." I stayed. I showed up. "I was committed," I said. She scoffed. "You showed up physically, sure. But emotionally? You were a ghost. Always buried in work, stuck in routines, clinging to Kelly like she was your only personality trait. I needed more. And you found it," I said, "in a married gym junkie with 2 kids." She shrugged. "Ronald made me feel alive. Like a woman again. Not just some washed-up suburban housewife wiping peanut butter off the counters while you zoned out on the couch." Her words were laced with venom. I could feel my hands tightening into fists on the table, my jaw locking. But I kept my voice low. I wasn't going to let her pull me down into that pit. "You weaponized Kelly," I said. "Used her to get to me. Told her I wasn't a real man. That you found someone better." Her face twitched for half a second. Guilt? Maybe. But it vanished just as quickly. "She asked questions," she said. I answered. "No," I said, my voice sharp now. "You manipulated her. You fed her lies she never should have had to carry. She's a kid, not a messenger for your drama. She deserves the truth," Rebecca fired back. "No," I said again, this time with steel in my voice. "She deserves parents who don't use her to score points in their personal soap opera." There was a long pause. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. Like I was some dramatic fool putting on a show. "God," she said, shaking her head, "you always make everything so dramatic." She was wrong, I said, still staring at her. "You needed Ronald because he didn't take life seriously? Is that it?" She shrugged like it was some casual confession. "He just made things easier. He didn't overthink everything like you." "Right?" I said. "Guess that's why he cheated on his wife, too. Life's just one big joke to him, huh?" Her smug little smile faded. Froze, actually. "Yeah," I continued, my voice steady. "I talked to Grace. She gave me everything. Your texts. Hotel receipts. Even the photo of you in that red dress. You know, the one I bought. Lying in his bed like you'd forgotten you were married." Rebecca blinked. Just for a second, her polished mask slipped. But she recovered fast, flipped her hair back, and leaned into that fake bravado. "Congratulations," she sneered. "Want a medal?" "No," I said, leaning forward. "I want you to get it through your head that this isn't a drama you get to control. It's not a game, Rebecca. You don't get to break something and pretend you're still holding the pieces. You think I'm going to fall apart? Come crawling back? No. This is real life. And you're losing everything." She scoffed. "I'm not losing anything." I stood up, calmly. "You already have." She didn't follow. Just sat there with her arms crossed like a moody teenager who didn't get her way. "For what it's worth," I said, looking down at her one last time, "I did love you. Even when you stopped earning it. Even when you quit trying. But I'm done loving someone who spits on loyalty and tries to call it freedom." She didn't respond. Maybe she didn't have anything left to say. Or maybe she just didn't care enough to pretend anymore. As I walked away, the breeze picked up, cool and clean, rustling through the grass. Kids were laughing in the distance. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to closure. I knew this wasn't the final chapter, not by a long shot, but something shifted in that moment. She wasn't my wife anymore. She was just someone I used to know. And now, finally, she had no power over me. The days after that conversation felt strange. No fights. No calls. No attempts to fix anything. Just silence. A cold, echoing silence where love used to live. Rebecca didn't check in. Didn't ask about Kelly. Didn't even fake concern. And that said everything I needed to know. Turns out, I hadn't been married to a partner. I'd been tethered to a selfish ghost. Kelly, God bless that little girl, tried to keep things normal. She'd draw me little pictures, tell me stories about school, ask things like whether I'd ever seen a rainbow that had 2 ends. I smiled, tucked her in every night, and kissed her on the forehead like it was the only thing holding my heart together. But late at night, When the lights were off and the house had gone quiet, that's when it hit me hardest. It wasn't just betrayal. It wasn't just embarrassment. It was the realization that Rebecca didn't just cheat. She mocked me, compared me, replaced me. And worst of all, she used our daughter to deliver her twisted little messages. I remember one night sitting on the couch, just staring at my own reflection in the black screen of the TV. I looked hollow, like someone who'd had the floor ripped out from under him but kept pretending he was still standing on solid ground. My mind drifted, birthdays, Christmas mornings, nights when she cried in my arms, thinking she was failing as a mother. And suddenly, all those memories felt like scenes from a movie I watched with someone who never really existed. This wasn't just a breakup. It was a death. The death of trust, of identity, of the man I used to be when I still believed in forever. And no, I didn't want revenge. Not the scorched earth kind. Not the soap opera drama she might have expected. I didn't want screaming matches or dramatic speeches. I wanted something way simpler. Clarity. Answers. But people like Rebecca? They don't give real answers. Just recycled garbage from therapy podcasts and Pinterest boards. Stuff about finding themselves and deserving more. Empty slogans to cover up broken morals. Then that Friday, I got a call from her sister, Cynthia. She and I had always gotten along. Honestly, she was the only person in Rebecca's family who seemed like she had an actual conscience. "I'm sorry," she said as soon as I picked up. "I didn't know how bad it had gotten." "It's not on you," I told her. "But thank you." "She's changed, Scott. I don't even recognize her anymore. I don't know what happened to my sister." I almost laughed. She bought into her own fantasy, convinced herself she was too good for loyalty. Cynthia paused for a second. She told me she was planning to move in with Ronald, but I guess that fell apart. "It did," I said. "His wife kicked him out, took the kids, and last I heard, he vanished. Ghosted her." Cynthia sighed. "She's not doing well." Good, I thought. But I didn't say it out loud. Instead, I asked, "Did she ever say anything about Kelly? Ever show regret?" There was a long silence. "She said Kelly would understand one day," Cynthia answered. Said being with Ronald was her truth. Her truth. Like betrayal was some spiritual awakening. After we hung up, I poured myself a glass of whiskey and stepped out onto the back porch. The night was cold, quiet. I looked up at the stars and felt something shift again. I wasn't angry anymore. I was disgusted. Not just with her, but with me. The version of myself that accepted so little, tolerated so much. The guy who thought being a good man meant swallowing hurt and calling it patience. No more of that. Kelly deserved better. And so did I. So I made a list. A real one. On paper. Finalize custody. Remove Rebecca from every joint account. Transfer the house deed to my name. Launch the new LLC. Therapy not to fix the pain, but to process the scars. Never again let anyone treat me like I'm disposable. I folded that list and stuck it in my wallet. Then I walked back inside. Rebecca may have broken the man I used to be, but the man I was becoming? She wouldn't even recognize him. It was a rainy Wednesday afternoon when the email came through. Not from her. Not from her lawyer. It was from the landlord of the apartment complex she'd moved into after we separated. Subject line: urgent, payment default, and tenant conflict. I figured it had to be a mistake. Maybe a wrong address or some paperwork glitch. But no, my name was right there in bold letters. She'd used my credit, my name, to sign the lease. Turns out, Rebecca couldn't qualify on her own, so she decided I'd be her backup plan. The same woman who torched our marriage without a second thought was still expecting me to be her safety net. I picked up the phone and called the number in the email. The building manager answered. "Yeah," he said. "She stopped paying rent last month. We've been trying to get a hold of her, but she just keeps saying my husband will take care of it." I laughed bitterly. "I'm not her husband. Not anymore." "Well," he said, sounding apologetic, "if it's not resolved in 10 days, it's going on your credit." My grip tightened around the phone. "Send me the lease," I said. "I'll get it to my attorney." She forged my name. Just like that, Rebecca added fraud to her growing list of accomplishments. But of course, it didn't stop there. That weekend, I got a message from Brenda, an old friend of Rebecca's I hadn't heard from in years. Always liked her. She was honest, blunt, no filter. She sent me one line and a photo. She said it again, this time with a guy named Matthew. Matthew. Married. 3 kids. The photo said it all. Rebecca sitting in the passenger seat of a black Escalade, legs crossed, sunglasses on, laughing like she didn't have a care in the world. Matthew's hand was resting on her thigh, his wedding ring shining like a spotlight. She hadn't learned a damn thing. It was never about love. It never had been. It was about control. That rush she got from being the center of someone else's world, even if it meant burning their life down. I didn't feel rage. Honestly, I felt something worse. Pity. Rebecca wasn't living, she was spiraling. Only now, she was doing it with fresh lipstick and no audience left to clap. Her so-called alpha had ditched her. Her reputation was in shambles. And Kelly? Kelly didn't even want to FaceTime with her anymore. Not after that last call where Rebecca called me weak right in front of her, and Kelly, bless her, just hung up. Even Cynthia, her sister, gave up trying to defend her. She sent me a message after seeing the photo. I've tried, Scott. I really have. But she's unreachable. You're better off. And through all of it, Rebecca never reached out. No apology. No explanation. No attempt to fix anything. She built a castle out of lies, and now that it was burning to the ground, she wanted people to think it was just a fireworks show. Pretend it was all on purpose. One night, as I was brushing Kelly's hair, she asked me something that hit harder than every betrayal combined. "Daddy," she said softly, "why doesn't Mommy come see me anymore?" I felt my throat tighten, like something was stuck behind my words. Sometimes, I said carefully, grown-ups make choices they don't understand until it's too late. But I'll always be here. Always. She hugged me then tight, like her little arms were trying to hold together the pieces that had fallen apart. That hug? That was everything. That was the difference between Rebecca and me. I showed up. The next morning, I filed for full custody. Adam didn't even blink. "She's burying herself," he said. "This won't be a battle. Just paperwork." By the end of the week, the court granted me temporary full custody. Rebecca didn't even bother to show up. Probably off chasing the next guy who made her feel seen. And that's when it started to happen, peace. Not joy, not happiness. Not yet. But stillness. No mind games. No arguments whispered behind locked doors. No guessing what lie I'd be fed next. Just silence. That Friday, I dropped Kelly off at school, kissed her goodbye, and watched her run off with her little backpack bouncing behind her. For the first time since everything collapsed, I looked up at the sky and didn't feel like it was caving in. It was clearing. She had lost everything because she chose the mask over the mirror. Image over truth. Illusion over integrity. And me? I was finally choosing me. That first Saturday morning without drama felt strange. Foreign, even. No passive-aggressive jabs over breakfast. No waiting for the garage to open at 2 a.m., so I could pretend to sleep through whatever lie walked through the door. No whispered phone calls or secretive texts. Just me, Kelly, and a quiet kitchen filled with the smell of pancakes and orange juice. I was washing dishes when I got a text from an unknown number. "You've made your point. You happy now?" I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, another one came in. "I lost my job. My car's gone. I'm getting evicted. This is what you wanted, right? Full custody. The house. Everything." Still, I didn't respond. Because I knew what this was. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't taking responsibility. She was blaming me for the fallout she lit the match for. Classic. I powered off my phone and turned back to the stove. Kelly was wearing one of my old t-shirts like a dress, standing on a stool and flipping pancake batter like it was her life's mission. "You're doing great," I told her. She looked up and beamed. "Better than Mommy?" I paused, gave her a soft smile. "You're doing great because you care," I said. She grinned again. And for that moment, that one perfect second, it was enough. Later that night, after she fell asleep during a movie, I turned my phone back on. 10 new messages. All the messages were from Rebecca. The last one was a voice note. I put on my headphones and listened once, just once. Her voice came through slurred, maybe crying, maybe drunk, probably both. "You ruined me, Scott," she said. "You really did. All because I wanted something different. Was that so wrong? You could have just let me go. Left it alone. But no, you had to win. Win." That's how she saw all this. Like it was a game. Like we weren't standing in the wreckage of a life she blew apart with both hands. I didn't say anything. I didn't even say the message. I deleted everything. Blocked her number. Because that voice? That was rock bottom talking. And she still couldn't admit she jumped. The following week brought another shift. Adam called. Her lawyer finally crawled out of the woodwork. I raised an eyebrow. "What's she want?" Adam chuckled. "She doesn't want to talk terms. She wants to bargain. She said she'll sign over full custody, no fight, no strings, if we agree not to pursue the lease fraud. Also wants visitation, whenever she gets back on her feet. I leaned back in my chair. What do you think? Take the deal, Adam said. Kelly's better off with you. We both know that. Let Rebecca drift away like she already has. So I signed. Full custody. No child support. No shared anything. Rebecca was still legally Kelly's mother, sure. But she wasn't anything like a parent anymore. She signed the next day. Later that evening, Cynthia sent me a message. She's couch hopping, she wrote. No job. No plan. Spends more time crying than talking. I don't even know who she is anymore. But I did. She was the mask. That image she clung to like it would save her. Once it slipped, there was nothing underneath but desperation and performance. The house, once so heavy with silence and suspicion, felt different now. It felt like a home. I took down her trendy artwork, replaced it with Kelly's crayon drawings. Donated the throw pillows Rebecca insisted on but nobody ever touched. Deleted her playlist from the Bluetooth speaker. Put my name on the deed. For the first time in years, the calm in the house wasn't eerie, it was earned. It wasn't forgetting. It was reclaiming. Reclaiming me. I started running again, not to escape, but to move forward. Not from the pain, but through it. Each mile I clocked was a reminder. This wasn't survival anymore. This was a restart. The woman who once called me weak and boring and replaceable, she was just a ghost now. One I didn't fear. Because I wasn't chasing closure anymore. I was chasing peace. And peace? It changes a man. Not like in the movies where he shaves his beard, joins a gym, and magically becomes a new person. Real peace comes in small pieces, in quiet mornings, in steady routines, in little wins that slowly rebuild a shattered soul. I wasn't the same Scott who sat in that dingy motel months ago, heart cracked open and lost. I was sharper now. Stronger. Lighter. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't pretending to be okay. I was. Kelly noticed too. She smiled more. Laughed longer. Stopped asking when her mom was coming back. Instead, she asked if we could get a dog. So we did. A ridiculous golden retriever named Moose, who chewed everything, shed everywhere, and loved like it was his job. Rebecca would have hated him. Too loud. Too messy. Too needy. Kelly? She adored him. One night, we were curled up on the couch, watching a movie, Moose snoring at our feet, when Kelly turned to me. Daddy? Yeah, baby. Do you think Mommy ever really loved us? I paused. Felt that old ache rise in my chest. She loved us the only way she knew how, I said slowly. But sometimes people mix up love with attention, or excitement, or just wanting to feel important. Kelly nodded, thoughtful. But you love me the real way, right? I kissed the top of her head with everything I had in me. Yeah, sweetheart. I do. She never asked about her mom again. Meanwhile, the business I'd started in the middle of all that chaos was thriving. What began as a little consulting hustle on LinkedIn had turned into something real. A company. 5 employees. Dozens of clients. Enough income to never look back. I called it substance consulting. Felt right. One afternoon, while I was reviewing some invoices at the office, an email popped up. From Rebecca. Subject line. No drama. Just one thing. I almost deleted it. But something in me was curious. She'd written, "You don't have to reply. I just needed to say this." I thought I was chasing freedom, but all I really did was run from responsibility. You were boring because you were steady. Predictable because you were reliable. I called you weak because I felt small. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know. You were the strong one all along. I stared at the screen for a while. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't a plea. It was just truth. Too late to matter. But truth, nonetheless. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her. I didn't. But because I'd already buried the version of myself that needed anything from her. She had chosen the illusion. I had become the substance. That weekend, Kelly and I took a trip to the mountains. No Wi-Fi. No distractions. Just firewood, crisp air, and a little girl who'd survived more than most adults ever will, and still woke up smiling. One evening, we sat watching the sun melt behind the hills. She reached for my hand. "I hope I grow up to be like you." And for the first time since everything fell apart, I felt tears well up in my eyes. Not from heartbreak, not from hurt, but from pride. That's the part Rebecca never got. Being an alpha? It's not about how much you lift, how loud you talk, or how many people you can control. It's about showing up when things are hard, loving when it's inconvenient, being solid when everyone else folds or fakes it. She chased some flashy idea of strength, and it cost her everything. Me? I found everything I needed by standing still. I never set out to write any of this down. Honestly, I didn't even mean to. But one night, after Kelly went to bed and the house settled into that warm quiet, the only sound being Moose snoring under my desk, I opened a blank Word doc. Not for anyone else. Not for the world. Just for me. To finish this chapter in a way that felt permanent. Because I've learned something. Closure isn't a phone call. It's not an apology. It's not even justice. It's peace. And peace is a choice. It's the moment you stop waiting for them to get it, to say sorry, to come around, and you start showing up for yourself instead. I never replied to Rebecca's last email. Never asked her to explain. Never chased clarity from someone who lived in confusion. I didn't need it. I'd already lived the answers. I saw what love wasn't, and in that wreckage, I finally understood what love is. It's the small stuff. The everyday stuff. A quiet cup of coffee in the morning. A hand on your shoulder when the world's falling apart. Pancakes in a quiet kitchen with your daughter on a Saturday. That's love. She called it boring. But boring is what people addicted to chaos call stability. I didn't need adrenaline anymore. I needed peace. And when someone shows you they're willing to burn down everything for attention, you don't rush in with water. You hand them the match and walk away. Rebecca kept spiraling. Cynthia told me she tried crawling back to Ronald. He ghosted her again. Then there was Matthew, the married guy with the Escalade that turned into court mess. She bounced from place to place, setting fire to every bridge like she was never planning to cross one again. And maybe that's just who she is now. Maybe she'll chase dopamine until it leaves her alone in the dark again. But me? I kept building. Kelly started therapy. Not because she was broken, because she deserved tools. A way to make sense of things without carrying scars she didn't earn. She stopped talking about her mom so much. These days, it's all dogs and constellations and her new dream of becoming a vet. She's healing. And so am I. I dated here and there. Nothing serious. A couple coffees, some dinners. The difference this time? I wasn't chasing approval. I wasn't performing, trying to earn love like it was some prize. I just was. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. One Sunday, Kelly and I were walking through a park when she pointed toward a couple holding hands by the fountain. "Do you think you'll ever love someone like that again?" she asked. I looked at her freckles, wild ponytail, eyes full of curiosity, and smiled. "Maybe," I said, "but only if she loves you too." Kelly grinned. "Deal." Sometimes I still get flashbacks, not of the good days. Of the lies. The way Rebecca looked at me that night when I confronted her. How casually she shrugged off the damage, like it didn't matter. Like I didn't matter. But those moments fade fast. Because I survived the worst of it. I lived through the betrayal, the gaslighting, the erasure, and came out of it stronger. Sharper. More present than I ever was with her. The story? It was never about revenge. It's about resurrection. She tried to bury me in blame and silence and shame. But she forgot something. Some men don't stay buried. Some men rise. So if you're reading this, if you've been cheated on, manipulated, replaced, made to feel small, hear me clearly. You were always enough. You just gave your love to the wrong person for too long. Now it's your turn. Pack your bags. Find your peace. Walk away from the wreckage and start over. Because 30 days after I left, Rebecca had no lover, no apartment, no reputation left to stand on. But I had peace. I had a thriving business. I had full custody of my daughter. She lost everything chasing a mask. And I gained everything by finally choosing myself.